Hello, my friends, and welcome to another week of at home activities or curriculum with Cinnamon and Megan. We're at week 18, which is my school because it is, rolling into fall and we're starting that time of the year. And this also brought to you by the letter S. But before we dive deep into the curriculum, Meg is going to talk to us about distance learning for children.
Fantastic. So just a couple of little tips, maybe something you hadn't thought of or something that you go, okay, yeah, I should definitely try to do this. Of course, information is new out there, so I'm sure more information will come out. And as you guys learn how to navigate the system, please feel free to share those tips with other parents. We can get messages out. You can go to our Facebook and share that stuff. But really think about limiting your child's distraction. And I'd say no matter the age too. So if you happen to be doing distance learning for preschool, I would definitely limit their distractions and set up a designated space. So even if you think, I don't have an extra space, I don't have an office. You don't need an office necessarily. Maybe you even have an ottoman that has storage, and then you allow your child just to keep all their stuff in there, and that's kind of where they sit with their computer and they have their own space. And keeping them away from each other if they're siblings, if you have that ability, but really limiting distractions, set up a designated space is super important. Keeping a routine, and so we've kind of all probably learned this over the last however many months, to keep that routine is super important for us and for them. So kind of just, we're going to school, and so that means we're getting up. Whether we take a shower in the morning, we brush our teeth, we do our hair, we get dressed, we eat breakfast, and then when all that stuff is done, then we sit down and we're ready to go for school. And keeping that routine during the day, so taking that time for lunch, and even kind of starting it with like, okay, school is starting before, let's check in before it starts, and then at the end of it all, kind of wrap it up in a sense. So how did that go? What did you think? And then wrap it up, and now we're done with it. And so being done with it too, another tip is to avoid screens after that. And so really trying to avoid, they've been sitting here all day. And so then trying to avoid that after, like go outside, go for a walk, play games as a family, do other things if you can, so that it doesn't, it kind of stands out as its own thing. It doesn't just all blend into one for them. And as well, if, when they get their breaks during the day, have them be physical, especially for those younger kids. I would say all ages really is, do jumping jacks. If it's a 10-minute break, come on, we're going to do jumping jacks, or let's do laps around the house, or let's go for a walk, or, keeping them moving is super, super important for children. Also, when we're talking about giving them their own space, is giving them space, especially the older that they get. So giving them a little bit of freedom, because now it's like, oh, they got their teacher, now they got mom like standing over that. What are you doing? What are you doing? So kind of trying to give them that space. Maybe you're in the same room, but you're allowing them that independence to learn and to be with their classmates. And then I would just say as well, stifle your own perfectionism. And so we're not used to being in school with our kids, so we're not looking down at everything they do, or, they have their teacher, they have their peers. So of course help them, but, their work doesn't have to be perfect. And it wasn't perfect when they were in school, and it doesn't have to be perfect now. So just because you're there, allow that relationship to exist with the teacher, and as well nurture that relationship yourself with that teacher. Keep in communication and ask any questions, because this is going to be a learning curve for everybody. And so any questions you have, reach out to them. Anything you think to add, Cinnamon, or anything that might be helpful or that you can see as a hurdle?
Well, I definitely like the fact that you brought up, stifle your own perfection, because as parents, we know, or maybe we're not always aware that, when we're like, we struggle the most at helping our kids. It's the hardest, and like you said, they have their teachers, they have the support system that they normally would have. So, trust it, they're fine, so I thought that was important. I also thought really was important is the importance of routines. Routines are really important, and I'm going to talk a little more about them in the curriculum as well, but it's really important to be consistent with your routines.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Yes, and let us know if you guys need any help as you're navigating it, if we can be of help.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a help. So diving into the theme, like I said, it's my school, and we are in week 18, so we're like out there with these. And I know it's been a long time. And so also, with that being said, just even diving into the books, like we always tell you, you can find these books online. Megan has 3 book options behind her that I didn't even list in the curriculum. And so those are 3 book options there. We have My New School. We have Annie B and Chi Dolores, and that's a really cute book if you can find it online. So Annie B and Chi Dolores, and it's about the alphabet and the kind of things that we find in school that start with the letters of the alphabet. So it's a really cute book. But so just remember that you can always find these books anywhere. As long as they're geared around the theme, you can use them. And like different books might fit your child differently. And so let's hop into the discussion questions. So like when kids are starting anything new, you want to introduce them to it. And so part of the discussion questions do that. So it's like, why do we go to school to begin with? Why does anyone have to go to school? And, even getting them to understand that you had to go to school. And what was your first day like? Or what was your experience like? Making it relatable to them. That's really important. And, we go to school to learn. And, why can't I just stay home and learn? Well, a lot of kids are staying home and learn right now, but it's for a different reason. But still, even explain to them the importance of learning and why we even have to go to schools, having that conversation with them. Getting them prepared, like what do schools have? Like what can you expect when you enter a school? From all the way from the furniture, the materials, to the people who work there, and to the other children that are going to be there. There's going to be children, there's going to be a janitor, there's going to be a teacher, there's going to be a principal, having and giving them these vocabulary words as well, giving them understanding of this new experience that they're going to have. Another thing that I thought that really was good, like what Megan was talking about, is routines. Routines are very important to have, because the school day is a routine. Like when they travel to a school and they walk into the building and stuff like that, that whole day is a routine. And, how does a school manage 500 children all day? Give or take maybe 30 adults. It's because they have these routines in place. It's because they have these systems and routines in place, and they're consistent. And so holding on to them at home, making sure that you're even discussing your routines, like, okay, so practicing it. So we know that getting ready for school in the evening is a little different, than going to bed on a regular night. We might be pulling out our clothes for tomorrow. We might have made our lunches for tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. But getting children familiar with all of that stuff and their routines, and keeping that time, like Megan said, is really important, especially through distance learning, because we know as adults who are just working remotely that we have to be consistent too, in order to execute our daily tasks, and it's not that I'm not sitting here with leggings on, because I am, but still, I still got myself prepared for work, and I still have my same routine. And even my nightly routine reflects, it's not just like this willy-nilly summer routine that I would have if I wasn't
back to school hours.
Right, exactly.
Well, and you're saying
really
that too. I forgot to show this. This was something that my mom had made for me. This is more of a schedule of, if you're home with your kids, making your own schedule. But don't be afraid to post something like this and create it with your child, and sit down and talk about the routine, and talk about how it's going to look different. So this won't be the same as when we go to school, but this is how it's going to look here, and then talk about how it might look different once you do start school. But post something, and then, of course, like all the visuals are fantastic as well, because we know little kids do very well with visuals, because you should just be able to point, well, what time is it? They don't need to be able to read to see some snacks. So
Exactly. It's really, and getting children, as long as they're familiar with routines, they can adapt to other routines, to new ones. So just understanding routines themselves. So moving forward with the crafts, and so what I was thinking was like, what about some preparatory things to get them prepared for school? So one of the things they're going to have to know how to do is write their names. And so maybe they've been practicing all summer writing their names. Maybe they already mastered it. But if they haven't, then you could go ahead and, I chose the name Jane. I just picked any name. I wasn't going to write Cinnamon, too long. But you could dot it out like this, so they can go ahead and trace it, or you can even just write it really light so they can go over it, and then they can go ahead and with the marker you know, trace the letters to their name. Like, and if they've mastered this skill, you can get more creative with it. You can get yarn and string or macaroni and have them decorate the letters of their name with those objects, you know, still giving them the understanding they need of the shapes of the letters and stuff like that. But like one of the things they will have to definitely know is
that's cool.
how to write
like
their name. Thank you. And then something else that, you know, it can be difficult, because I remember when my son started kindergarten, he needed to know these sight words, right? And so beforehand, I created all these sight words. What are they called?
Flashcards. No,
flashcards.
basically.
Yeah, flashcards, basically. Yeah. So I created
cards.
these.
They're called index cards.
Thank you. Thank you. Woo. So I had done this for my son because sight words are words that are a little harder to define. They're, you know, words that fit in between words, like, you know, the and and be. Can you see these well?
Yeah.
You can see them well?
Yep.
Okay. And so like with, and so these aren't words that are easy to necessarily teach, and these are words that's going to be easy for them to learn to memorize. And so, you know, practicing, and there's so many. There's like 200 sight words. Yeah. So it's like, you know, just even making it a fun game and stuff, but all, you know, I is a sight word. And so just, you know, getting them prepared in that way, that's something that they would need to know. Something else, actually, if I want to go ahead and just move into math and science really quick, but something else that children have to learn is patterns. So here I have different color Legos, and so AB patterns is what they're going to learn. And so what an AB pattern, if you don't know what an AB pattern is just like, you know, 1 to 1. So like blue, green, blue, green. And so that's a basic AB pattern. You have your child create a pattern, or you create a pattern and you have them complete it. If you want to make it a little more difficult, you can do, you know, more colors. So it could be blue, green, red, and then you can add more. Blue, green, red, red, and then back to blue, green, and then what comes next? Red, red. So that's a really important skill to have, making patterns. So that's something that you can also practice with your child. And you can do that in so many different ways. With food, there's so many different ways to make patterns. Also, let's see, what else did I want to talk about? So free play, you know, we created a lot of boxes, and, you know, Matt, we talked about imaginative play, and, you know, in our past curriculum and stuff like that. And so let's play school. Let's show me, or let them show you what they feel like school looks like, or, you know, allow them to take the lead. Do they want to be the teacher? Do they want to be the student? Most likely they're going to want to be the teacher, because that's what kids want. They want to be the one who runs things, and then you will have to be the student. But let them take the lead. Let them get comfortable with these situations, familiar with them, and you know, it will pose questions or different things, you know, where you're like, oh, I didn't even know that they were thinking like that and stuff. And so you can address those things at those times. But imaginative play is always a great place to practice life. Also, I come up with this prepositional Simon Says. And so prepositions is something that children need to know in school upon entering school. So, and prepositions are like directional, you know, terms like, you know, the block is on my notebook. Or Lego is under my notebook. So you could do something like that with Simon Says, where you're giving your child directions, in that way teaching them prepositions, like using props, saying, you know, Jane is in the box, you know, and then maybe the box is big enough for Jane to cover herself in. So now Jane is in the box, you know, so just practicing those words, because like I said, that's something else that they would need to know upon entering school. And so also moving on to outdoor, what if you can, and I know these times are totally different from the past, but, you know, make visits to a local school in your neighborhood or your child's school. It's chances are your child will be going to their boundary school, which is probably sometimes in their in your community or in your neighborhood. sometimes it's not in your neighborhood. But, you know, visiting any school, you know, like any elementary school that's close to you, even just driving onto the property or taking a walk to the school, you know, getting familiar with that. Like, look, this is a school. Maybe this is not your school, but they're going to be children starting here soon. Like, you will be starting at your new school. Here's the playground. Here's the XYZ. And so, like, you know, in the past, you were more likely to meet with the teacher and walk into your classroom and get to see the spaces like that. You know, those are also important and will always be important. But in a world where you can't do that so much, you can certainly drive by, walk by, and just keep continuously doing that, because you want your child to feel as prepared as possible, because you know you don't like jumping into new situations without any information. And so you want to give them as much information as possible to make them feel comfort when, you know, they're going to be leaving you for the day. So, you know, let me see if I have anything else. Also, something else that I thought of, and just to help children get familiar with meeting other people, because, you know, what's their social experience been since before they started school or just during these current times. And so I came up with creating a list of questions to ask each other, kind of silly, like an interview, but like, you know, you might sit down with your child and create a list of like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite thing to play? You know, what's your favorite book? It could be anything like that. And then you ask each other those questions. And then, you know, that gives them kind of the language to approach other children and ask them those questions and see if they have similarities, like, oh, I love that story too, or I watched that too, you know, and stuff like that. So that's another way for children to get comfortable socially. Let's see. I think I may have touched on everything. Is there something you'd like to add, Meg?
Yeah, I was just going to say, talking about socially, if our viewers out there are not familiar with our play groups and you do have children that are home, join. If you want to get them used to what a virtual model will look like, or, you know, just not even a virtual model, I shouldn't say that, but just meeting peers virtually. Join us on our play groups, or, you know, if you're not even going to be sitting in school, join us on the play groups, because it still gives some kind of peer-to-peer interaction, and it really teaches them how to use this Zoom and gets them used to that. But we do lots of fun things, so join us, and you could check us out on Facebook for how to get that, or you can contact Cinnamon Rye and we'll give you a specific link to join play group with us.
Right. If you never get tired of seeing us, there's so many other ways to do so. So check us out.
Every Wednesday and Friday, 10:30.
Yes, yes. And then if you're interested, just email us. We'll send you a link if you haven't already participated.
Yes, fantastic. But that's it. Yeah, everything looks great. I mean, really, a lot of the activities are about preparing your child for school. So definitely awesome.
Yep. Hit us up if you have questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you again. Take care, everyone.